So, with the upcoming release of the new set and our new findings about the Shuffler, you would like to find out what's the fastest and effortless way to farm gold? Well, stick around and you'll find out. But for those who don't, it's playing mono red aggro or mono white in competitive constructed. And I have managed to test it to see if that is indeed the case. Now, as you might have noticed, that the easiest way to get to Mythic is to pick an aggro deck, which in the current meta either mono red or mono white. I think mono white is better, but I just didn't have the rares, so I stuck with mono red, and it's also a little more brainless. So the reason for that is this. Now, no offense to the mono red players. I mean, as you can see, I'm playing mono red and I'm enjoying it very, very much. The reason for that is currently the Shuffler is very much rigged in favor of an aggro deck. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you are very often to get mana flooded and statistically inordinate amount of lands, or get completely mana screwed, which heavily disfavors any mid-range deck. And I'm a mid-range player, I would know. I've been running some statistics, and over the 80 games that I have lost, 74 were due to either the complete mana screw or losing missing a land drop, a critical land drop. For example, I get stuck at 3 lands while I actually need 4, or vice versa. My opponent pulls a Niv Mizzet and I need a Vivian Reed. I have it in my hand, so it is really rare to really lose without the draw shenanigans. So, how do we take advantage of that? Well, since your hands are sorted, this includes in the competitive construct as well, to have better land to spells ratio, well, you can get away with playing lower amount of lands. And by lower, I mean the deck that I'm playing is 16 lands. Now, how often can you succeed and why should you? The reason for that is this. Competitive constructed, you have, as long as you have an over 50% win rate and are just a little bit lucky, you will be able to turn a profit. And even if you do break even in your entrance cost, well, you have unlocked 3 more cards, which can increase your vault progress. And if it's a rare that you collected, you get gems. So breaking even, as long as you have a 50% win rate, you are making profit. This also, of course, advances your daily quests. So this makes it the best way to level up or grind your gold. Now, to play these aggro decks, it's pretty simple. For example, I actually accidentally picked this one. I usually play competitive constructed to actually improve myself as a player. I accidentally picked mono red without a sideboard. And you would think it would not perform very well. However, the match you're looking at right now is actually my 5th consecutive. It is fast, and, well, the 5th consecutive one, and I believe I only had a 1 loss. I believe this is the last match in the whole thing. Might be wrong on the numbers, but this is the last match. And oftentimes you win 2-0. As you can see, even with 16 lands, you tend to witness some interesting land drops quite a lot. So it is definitely not random. Looking at the statistics that people have ran and your own, you must have noticed that you get hell of a lot of lands. I would like to remind you to look at this picture and remember this is a 16 land deck. 16 lands, and right now I'm not even halfway through my deck. And of course, another thing is the Shuffler creates these pockets of lands and pockets of, well, non-lands. As you can see, we have just hit our 4th consecutive or 3rd consecutive land drop. I wasn't counting, but I'm just filling the time for the most part. Regardless, we're gonna speed this up from here. And afterwards, we will see that the mono red is just the fastest way to get through the competition, even without a sideboard. And if you do add a sideboard, you're most likely to increase your chances of winning. after even without the sideboard, if I manage to win, and as long as you can secure an over 50% win rate, considering mono red, if you do not get mana screwed, you get, well, over 50% win rate, you should be just fine. So with that being said, we quickly take a look at the deck, and we see that it does have 16 lands. Now, I will say this, however, is that this method is completely not fun, and you are very much rather just actually buy that gold rather than subject yourself to constantly playing the same deck. To me, playing mono red is therapeutic, and at the same time being able to grind gold is always a plus.